Number 1. The devaluation of soul beasts. In Soul Land, Tu Yuhao immediately gets a million-year-old soul beast as his first martial soul. Most conveniently, the soul beast just happens to merge with him with no setbacks. Not to mention, the silkworm gives him 4 multiple mental soul skills at a go right at level 10, along with an extra ice martial soul and a bigger sea of consciousness. That the next martial soul he immediately acquires is a 400,000-year-old ice scorpion emperor, who also happens to sacrifice herself to Yuhao right off the bat, staying in his sea of consciousness, as well as giving him multiple high-level skills and a torso soul bone as his first soul bone. Number 2. The devaluation of soul beast hunting. In Soul Land 1, the characters had to fight against soul beasts in groups. Think of martial soul finding H-In or Xiao Wu's mother, and they were all high-level soul masters. It was a dangerous gamble, as soul beasts were stronger and would kill soul masters, and they had to be acquired only when a soul master has reached a bottleneck. Just to acquire a single soul ring and a high-level ring, even rarer and more dangerous. Soul Land 2 changes that completely so far we've seen how every soul beast conveniently sacrifices for Yuhao. Yuhao gets not just 1, but 6 high-level soul rings, and not just any color, but orange-gold level soul rings from the Snow Empress turned Spirit Soul, while he's at level 50, which completely contradicts the earlier established lore of Soul Land 1. Number 3. No Soul Ring Showcase. Remember back in the day, when a single black, 10,000-year soul ring used to mean something, when seeing a flash of red made entire kingdoms tremble, and legends were forged through blood, sweat, and absolute near-death agony against ancient beasts. Back in the original series, fights were chess matches. You had specific skill names yelled with absolute chest-deep conviction. You had first spirit ability, Blue Silver Prison. Fourth spirit ability, Titan Slam. You knew the cooldowns, you knew the positioning, you knew the exact tactical geometry of the battlefield. In Soul Land, characters actively displayed their respective soul skills, be it the first, second, third, or the infamous 7th, 8th, and 9th soul skill. Whenever they used the soul skill, you could see from which ring the soul skill came from. Back in Tang San's era, you earned your rings. You respected the bottleneck. You feared the soul shock. But nowadays, the holy sanctity of the ring showcase has been utterly devalued. Soul Land 2 completely ditches that format. Yuhao apparently has never seen before soul rings, and the method he acquired said soul rings is Yunown. The fight sequences, apart from the 7th soul skill, which there is No ring being displayed, changes to endless battle blasts and flashes of light. Half the budget goes into rendering these insanely over-engineered, glowing, multicolored soul rings floating behind them. And then they just manifest a random glowing knife, use mental interference for the 900th time, or rely on a giant floating golden finger hand to slap the enemy away. Because of his unprecedented multi-attribute integration, partnering with supreme entities like the Ice Empress and harboring peerless spiritual origins, Yuhao packs so many overlapping abilities into his configuration that individual skills lose their distinct gravity. Where are the actual creative spirit skill combinations? Or where's the tactical synergy? The answer is there isn't any. Number 4. The devaluation of twin martial souls. Tang San, possessing the Clear Sky Hammer, the pinnacle of brute force offensive power, and the Blue Silver Emperor, the ultimate domain-expanding control soul. Tang San's dual loadout defined strategic warfare. The genius of the first era was the constraint. Bibi Dong, the Supreme Pontiff wielding the Death Spider Emperor and the Cursed Spider Emperor. Xiao Xiao is an example of a pure auxiliary/control master wielding twin souls. First soul guarding tripod, a heavy defense and suppression. Type Tool Soul use TO smash enemies and trap them on the battlefield. It can split into 3 independent cauldrons to crush, suppress, and shatter enemy attack auras. Princess Wei Na has twin martial souls, a spirit brain martial soul, the most important physical martial soul that grants her spiritual capabilities, including spiritual detection and battlefield mapping, and Snowy Lotus martial soul that grants her defense, healing, and elemental buffing for her allies. It's a tool martial soul that she uses simultaneously. 9. Phoenix Dancing Flute is a sound-type tool spirit that materializes as a jade green bamboo flute with phoenix designs. Can be used as a control and/or support-type spirit, ites, a tool soul that can slow down enemies, induce dizziness, and so on. Tang Wudong's second martial soul is the Clear Sky Hammer, the ultimate tool martial soul, and the number 1 martial soul used for strong attack. In addition to her first martial soul, Butterfly Goddess martial soul, she can use both martial souls simultaneously, not to mention when she fuses with Wang Dong's soul, her martial soul evolves to become the Golden Dragon Butterfly martial soul. She uses both martial souls to attack, stun, and defend against opponents. The existence of soul tools. In Soul Land 2, instead of creative ring combinations, tactical team positioning, and raw martial prowess, fights can devolve into equipment and resource-heavy matchups where characters simply leveraged advanced firepower. Even those advanced weapons are used by the highest soul engineers, meaning the premise of allowing low-level soul masters to fight high-level soul masters void. Another failure is the power scaling. How is it that high-level soul tools can be mass-produced by empires? The original appeal centered on the elite, mystical journey of individual soul masters. Soul tools democratize power and, eventually, introduce technology like mechas and stationary cannons, making individual biological cultivation feel less exclusive and altering the novelty of the world. For many, the shift toward mechas, heavy ion beam tech, and mass-produced engineering turns the universe away from traditional, grounded fantasy cultivation into a generic sci-fi hybrid. It makes the mystical uniqueness of martial souls feel secondary to industrial manufacturing. Watchers often point out narrative inconsistencies, such as how elite intercore groups or major sect heirs, who realistically have unlimited resources, initially look down on or ignore soul tools, even when facing life-or-death missions where an extra defensive or offensive edge would be logical. As soul tools advance, especially into high-tier arrays, guided munitions, and mechas, the distinctiveness of individual martial souls starts to matter less. Characters with rare or specialized martial souls can get overshadowed simply because standard, mass-produced, or advanced engineered technology outputs overwhelming firepower. It diminishes the narrative tension of traditional cultivation milestones. Instead of a character's internal breakthrough or mastery over their spirit rings deciding a high-stakes battle, conflicts can abruptly pivot based on who brought the better gadget or had a higher capacity energy storage tool. Instead of overcoming challenges purely through his own martial soul growth, spiritual power, or unique eye abilities, a huge chunk of his toolkit and tactical advantages end up coming from high-tier gear. Number 6. No use of magical weapons in Soul Land 2. In Soul Land 1, during the trials of the Sea God, the 7th trial is to obtain the Trident of the Sea God Trident, which is classified as a magical weapon that is instrumental in Tang San's victories against Bibi Dong, Qian Renxue, and Grand Soul Land Masters. Despite having a lower rank, we see the struggle he undergoes trying to acquire the Trident and how he uses it in combat along with his other arsenal. Tang Sen also acquires the Azura Sword from the Azura God, which he uses in the final battle against Qian Renxue and Bibi Dong. The Sea God Trident is a divine weapon weighing 108,000 tons. Its authority is directly tied to divine trials, inheritance, and personal worthiness. It represents a bond between wielder and weapon. Qian Renxue obtains the Angel Sword, a divine weapon, in one of her divine trials. It weighs 54,000 tons, and it channels holy and purifying energy. Number 7. No head flamens for the inheritance of the gods. In Soul Land 1, for 1 to reach godhood by divine inheritance, the head flamen of the specific inheritance must sacrifice herself to open the door of inheritance. Bo Saishi sacrifices herself to open the door of inheritance for Tang San to achieve the Sea God inheritance. As the High Priestess, her entire existence and power were bound to guarding the Sea God's domain and waiting for the true successor. By giving up her life force, she transfers the immense protector role to Tang San. Qian Daolu sacrifices himself for Qian Renxue to obtain the angel god position by opening the door of inheritance. His sacrifice is a core part of Qian Renxue's personal dilemma. In short, all high priestess must sacrifice themselves to open the door of inheritance. Contrast that with Yu Hao, who, guess what? The god of emotions is from another world, meaning he has no high priestess. He conveniently gives Yu Hao the inheritance. The trials he gives are just tied to the progressions of the plot. He has no divine weapons to hand to Yu Hao. He has no worshippers, as he's from another world. His involvement meant that soul power, soul skills, and martial souls are discarded. He essentially snatched Hui Yu Hao as an inheritor before Tang San could lock him down, reducing the solemn, sacred tradition of godhood trials into a rushed arrangement so he could hand off his workload and escape to cook and travel. It turned what used to be an epic, mythological ascension process into something much more arbitrary and heavily reliant on authorial crossover convenience. In the original series, achieving godhood required a sacred, structural rite of passage. But for Number 8, the Shrek 7 Devils vs. the Shrek 7 Devils in Season 2. The original lineup: Tang San, Xiao Wu, Dai Mubai, Oscar, Zhu Zhuqing, Ma Hongjun, and Ning Rongrong represented the absolute gold standard of earned camaraderie, raw survival, and meticulous power scaling. Their legendary status wasn't handed to them. It was forged through brutal, life-or-death trials at Shrek Academy when it was still a rundown, underfunded school in a village. Every single rank, spirit ring, and bone they earned felt heavy and hard-fought. Every member had a distinct, irreplaceable combat identity that mapped perfectly onto traditional team synergy. Their synchronized combo attacks and tactical brilliance during the Elite Tournament defined the peak of team-based martial soul combat. Led by Hui Yu Hao, Wang Dong, Tang Wudong, Bei Bei, Su Sanshi, Jiang Nan, Hikaitu, and Xiao Xiao, the second generation operated in a drastically different era, shifting the core dynamic of what it meant to be a Shrek monster. Unlike the first generation, where team battles and synchronized martial soul fusion were everything, the second generation was heavily overshadowed by the solo dominance of Hui Yu Hao and the integration of soul tools. The team often felt less like a tightly knit squad of equals and more like a vehicle centered around Yu Hao's multi-layered power sets: Spirit Eyes, Ice Jade Emperor Scorpion, multiple soul spirits, and soul tool mastery. While the original 7 shared an unbreakable brotherhood and romance forged in the trenches, the second generation suffered from fragmented narrative focus. Members like Jiang Nan, Su Sanshi, and Hikaitu often got sidelined or bogged down by melodrama, losing the sharp, tactical combat relevance that made the original group so iconic. Perhaps the most jarring difference was the drop-off in divine success. While the first generation achieved a 100% ascension rate to godhood, the second generation saw that legacy heavily bottlenecked. Only Hui Yu Hao and Tang Wudong made it to the god realm, highlighting how the grand, unified divine destiny of the original Shrek crew had fractured in the age of technological and systemic decline. In the original series, Shrek Academy was a literal shack in a village with a handful of eccentric teachers and only a few students who had to claw their way through life-or-death survival. By Soul Land 2, it has ballooned into an elite, multi-departmental megacity campus with its own internal politics, inner and outer courts, noble favoritism, and rigid hierarchies. It somehow tries to function as a martial arts proving ground, a high-tech research lab, and a political powerhouse all at once, making its day-to-day operations entirely detached from reality. It has devolved to a